Hello, guys and gals. I just had a thought right before we started here. I'm listening to the fine music that I created previously, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm just going to start this particular show and pay homage to one of my favorite movies of all time that came out before most of the techs in here were born in 1987. Well, a lot of you techs weren't born. Good Morning Vietnam. I was just going to scream Good Morning Vietnam, and it occurred to me, if you haven't seen the movie, it's very good. You should check it out. But it occurred to me that I think I've already done a live stream like that. And then it also occurred to me that I'm probably insane, because who would possibly want to do that besides myself and, of course, Adrian Cronauer. I want to say good evening. This is HVAC Training Videos. My name is Zach Ciotta. I'm the host of the show here, as you might have ascertained, but or maybe you don't. Maybe you just stumbled upon this channel magically on Friday night, surfing around the internet by yourself, alone. In that case, I'm very sorry. But you will be entertained here, probably, and if you're an HVAC, you'll be educated. That's up to Steven. I'm looking at Steven down there. He can't talk, but he's smiling. He said he's going to educate you very much tonight. That's what the smile is telling me on screen number 3. So, guys, it's good to see you. Let's go through the chat here. We have Luke the Plumber, who should be receiving his shirt soon. We have Beaver HVAC, who says that's a good movie. Me and Beaver simpatico, man. He knows what's going on. HVAC Residential Basics, that's Steve. We have Clint Glasgow from Texas. We have, let me go up the list here. We have Stephen Rardon. He's in the chat and on the show, man. All right. Double trouble. All right. And we have Gary Gleisberg, and then it goes up at higher, and I can't see anymore. But Tony Del Grego, good to see you too. So, this is HVAC Training Videos. We do these interviews every Friday night, except for that one Friday I was on vacation. But, you know, it was awesome. But every Friday night besides the Fridays when I either don't feel like doing it or I'm on vacation. Of course, I'm joking. It's just when I'm on vacation. Steven's going to be with us this week. Of course, if you came in last time, that would be another Zach. Zach Desjardins from Quality HVACR. And the week before that was Greg Fox. And next week, I'm not quite sure who we're going to have next week just yet. I haven't decided yet. But I know the following week, which is going to be, I believe, the 13th of November and the 20th of November, we have David Richardson from NCI. The first week, we're going to do CO, or Introduction to CO. I'm not quite sure. He came up with this plan. He says, let's talk about CO. So I'm not quite sure what that entails. Introduction to what carbon monoxide is as an element or a compound, I'm not sure. But we're going to talk about CO the first week, and we're going to talk about Introduction to Combustion Analysis the second week. I'm guessing that David thinks that combustion analysis is really built around identifying CO levels. So we're going to find that out. Should be pretty good. He's a smart guy. National Comfort Institute. Really a great bunch. So, we have a whole bunch of new names there. Let's see. We have R134A Hole. I'm not sure what that means. A-hole. That's, I got you. It's funny. Luke the Plumber again. What's up? He says LAMO. I think he means LMAO. That's okay. American Temperature Control. What's happening? Wallace Fan 17. What's up? Hey, man, Wallace is right down the street. Man, congratulations. You must be a Bulldogs fan. In that case, that's too bad. I'm a Pinter Patriot, bro. And we've never won anything in football, ever. Well, that's a lie. 1980-something, we won something, but that's before I even went there, which is very sad. So, 2 things I'm going to say real quick, and then we're going to get on to the show here. One thing, if you want to be notified live, which I didn't do tonight, which I just now realized because it was kind of frantic tonight, but you seem to have made it anyway because I see your names in there, so thank you. But if you want to join the notification list, go down into the description, and you'll see all kinds of links down there. Just all the links, just hit them all after the show, and it'll take you everywhere you possibly want to go. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so we're going to get on to the show here. Steven is laying in wait. We're ready to discuss. I think I'm looking forward to discussing Bosch. I'm looking down at his face down there. Bosch? He's shaking his head no. We're talking Bosch, okay? I'm going to talk about my Bosch. He's going to talk about Bosch, and they're all going to cry together, so it'll be all right. I'm going to play a little commercial here real quick and bring Steven in. This first one is from our friends at NAVAC. This is about a vacuum pump, which I think is awesome. So check it out, and we'll be right back. The NP4 DLM cordless vacuum pump from Navac features a high-performance lithium battery capable of up to 1 hour of continuous running time. Weighing a scant 15.4 pounds, this unit is exceedingly efficient and, for technicians, easy to carry and store. The NP4 DLM's twin-cylinder operation provides high vacuum down to 15 microns. To save 8% off this product when you purchase, go to TreeTechTools.com and use our Shop Talk discount code. All right, welcome back. Hey, Steven, what's happening, man?
Hey.
How's it going?
I literally ran up the street to get here.
Steven, now they're going to know that you're the cause of this, okay? I was trying to hide the fact that you were the cause of this problem. I was telling them, I said I rebooted the flanges on the laser drive on my computer, which I'm going to tell you truthfully, most of them believed it. So I'm just saying. But I'm glad you're able to make it. Now, what were you doing that you forgot about this wonderful event?
Oh, it was so much more fun. I was replacing a water heater with my neighbor.
You were replacing a water heater. Now, was this like an emergency thing that happened?
Not necessarily emergency, but yeah, he had a failure. And so I was like, hey, I got nothing to do this afternoon. Let's put in a water heater.
That makes me feel real small, Stephen.
You're not small. You're taller than I am.
I know. I'm not small. Physically, I'm not small. And we grow taller and wider as I get older. Well, I guess gravity's making me slightly shorter, probably. But the wider, I'm like a boss in that area. That's effortless.
That is effortless, believe me.
So, yeah, we all have that problem. All right, Steven, you've been in business now. I was trying to remember how many years, because the time flies by. How many years since you started your business?
September 2017. So it would actually be just over 3 years now.
So
or
3?
How does that work? 18, 19, 20. Yeah.
Are you asking me how addition works?
Yeah.
It's been 3 years, and for the people who might not know, because newer guys, I mean, they might not be familiar with the YouTube channel because you haven't been doing a whole lot in that time period. Steven ran a YouTube channel for several years, starting, like 2012 or 13, somewhere in there?
Yeah, 13, 14 era.
Yeah, I try to remember where the iManifold was and backed it off like a year. I think that was 2014.
It was in the 14 range that I did. Well, the 2014 year was the year I probably produced the most content, maybe.
And now
2014, 15.
Now it's all gone.
Now I don't have time for it.
That's what I figured. So when you start a new business, it's kind of hard to do because for those of you who don't know, when Steven made videos, a lot of times he would make these I'll call them epic service call videos where he filmed. I don't know how much footage you actually took, but it's like GoPro footage, and you'd cut it down to like 20 or 30 minutes sometimes. And
yeah,
I don't know tell us, how long did it take to make a video? How much footage did you go through on each one of those day in the life videos?
I literally recorded everything.
Oh my gosh.
On the way to the call, at the call, after the call. And my goal was to eventually get to, I did a sort of a pseudo reality series. But my goal was to try to do like previously on, and I played that a little bit, but it was such a pain to try to edit that, go back and find the footage that was actually interesting from the day previous,
right,
and cut it into the video for today, and then remember what you did on the next. And I was trying to be a producer and a tech and a husband and a homeowner. And yeah, it was tough. A lot, but I had one install that I made into like 4 videos, and it was like a 12-hour day that I literally recorded all day.
That's hard to do, man. I mean, that's hard to do when you start the business. I mean, was your intention, I think it was, because you made some videos when you first started the business, was your intention to continue that same process onward?
That was the idea, yeah. How
long did it take before you're like, the hell with this?
I I think I maybe got 3 videos, and then I was like, yeah, I can't do this.
I saw you because like you were driving a Jeep, like a Wrangler
Yeah.
or something to start with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then you got the vans, and I'll bring up the picture. I put some of the pictures down.
Yeah.
Your vans, you have like 2 vans and a trailer. Now, do you have more than just you working with you now?
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you have like another like lead quality tech almost, I guess, in the other van?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So tell us, man, how did that come about?
When I was working at my second to last company, it's a large national corporation that sells stuff that rhymes with Menox.
Oh, I'm not going to
Anyway.
rhyme their name because then it's almost too easy. Then that's the name you really want to hold back.
I worked with this kid, and he was frustrated in that he was trying to do better work, but he was limited by what supervisors and management were willing to give him. They weren't willing to give him, torches and vacuum pumps and micron gauges, but he's like, I can do this stuff. They won't let me try. And I recognized a propensity for perfection and a work ethic that was just ridiculous. I saw myself in him a lot, and I said, okay, if I go into business, I will call you. And he's like, yeah, fine, sure. So after my first year, I called him up and I said, hey, I can't afford to put you in a van right now, but I'd like to hire you to, start doing some PM work and whatnot. I've got a fairly sizable PM contract with a large storage facility. And so that was enough to keep him busy, and I wouldn't have to worry about his payroll. And at one point, I think he had been with me for like, maybe it was 6, maybe it was 10 months. I got to the point where I was like, yeah, you need a proper van, because, he was driving his personal car to these storage facilities. And at that point, I didn't care. He could carry filters. He could carry a ladder on top of his truck. But after a while, I was starting to need to send him to customers' houses. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work to pull up in a, 1993 Jeep Cherokee. So we got him in a van. And then at the end of 2019 is when we got the vans wrapped. It was like 2 days before Christmas.
They look nice. I'll put it back up on the screen. It looks really nice. Now, what's that facility that are parked in? Is that at your house? I mean, how big is your house? Is that your garage?
Nah,
this is awesome, Stephen.
It would be nice if I could lie with a straight face, but no, that is a friend of mine. He had just finished his 1,900 square foot garage. And I had helped him put the 4-ton XV20 in his garage. So he allowed us to use his heated and air conditioned space for wrapping the trucks in December.
I'm gonna teach you something right now, Stephen. Here, now watch me do this. Yeah, that's the garage. I actually built that garage next to my house. It's 5,200 square feet. And you can't see it, but in the back of the picture here, guys, is my boat. And I actually have an Indian motorcycle that's from the 1940s there, too. You just can't see it. I should have pulled it out there. See how easy that is?
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
Lie through your teeth.
Lie through your teeth. I learned from my children.
Gotcha.
Or vice versa. I'm not quite sure. I don't know how that works. So,
but yeah, recently we actually hired another guy. And
so you have 3 dudes. All right, Steve.
Me, him, and my initial hire. Yeah. So he is actually the owner of the garage.
No, so you installed it at the guy's garage, and he now works for you?
Yeah.
Excuse me, but how old is this guy? You can give us a ballpark, because what I'm saying is that I thought this guy would be of age since he has this huge garage. He just got this great system for his garage. So I'm picturing a guy that was well established, like a 50-year-old or 55.
No, he's younger than I am.
Good grief. What did we do wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
No,
you're on the move.
I'm not supposed to move around, but I'm thirsty.
Hey, you know what? When you come on a live stream and you're showing your refrigerator, it's like showing up at a storage unit in a Jeep Cherokee.
Hey, I don't have a fancy studio garage room.
Oh yeah. You know, I have these great lights and these painter drop cloths to dampen the sound. It's really like being in a studio. This is Abbey Road here, man. Come on.
I actually saw a client that used drop cloth to make drapes for her kitchen and dining room.
I think it's like one of them things, like my wife says, it is a shabby chic thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Like when you take a table and paint it, and then you take it and sand the corners of it so it looks like it's worn through, and it actually looks pretty good. I mean, I can't lie. It looks nice. But all right, well, we've been talking business. You got your drink.
We were supposed to start talking Bosch, right?
Well, you were over there shaking your head, so I thought I'd warm you up a little bit. I definitely want to talk Bosch, because this is what we call a long time coming. And so I want to, well, we could talk about the Pulse too if we don't talk long time coming, but I feel like that's been exhausted already. It's like punching a dead horse at this point. But I do want to talk about Bosch. The reason why I want to talk about Bosch is because of one word: humidity.
Humidity, huh?
Humidity. Now,
you know what? I don't quite have the capacity to wrap my head around.
What's that?
How many years ago did Joe Shearer say it's going to suck at humidity?
Oh, let's see. That was the Bosch debate. And I actually just watched that the other day, like a few minutes of it, because I saw it in my video feed. It has been, I'll say this. I was sitting in my back building, which was before the fire, so it's been at least a couple years.
Fire 1 or 4?
No, fire 2. Fire 2. I hate that I had to be specific about that, but it is fire 2. And I was sitting back there, and it was Joe and Ralph, and then Joe was like, this is a single-stage unit, and you put a bunch of fancy things on it. And Ralph was like, no, this was sent down from the heavens. It's going to cure everything. And you started installing these, was it right around that time? Because you've been installing them for a while.
Yeah, I jumped on the bandwagon early.
Let me ask you, are you still installing them?
I will.
You will qualifier when what?
When they buy a massive dehumidifier with it.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this. I know there's one video that you released that says the only Bosch that doesn't have humidity problems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why did the other ones, and I'm assuming these are all first generation, or are there some mixed in second generation?
Nope, I have not put in any 2.0s.
Well, I have. We'll get to that one in a second. So
Yep,
you have a
I
bunch of.
figured we would.
Yeah. See where this is going here. So with the 1 series, what was your findings on why it didn't function, or did it just not function? I mean, what did you? I'm sure you investigated. You have all your tools. You have all the Measure Quick repertoire. You have all these data instruments. What did you find out it could or couldn't do?
So the only one that did a good job, interestingly enough, never got commissioned.
That seems
I think that
logical.
was 8 out of 9 systems that didn't do humidity worth of crap. But anyway, I dialed in every system to exactly the airflow for the duct system that they were on. Startup numbers right on the money. Everything was as it should be. Static pressures were nice. Everything was as a 2-ton, 3-ton, 2.5, whatever. And I switched the dip switches on the condenser. If it was a 2-ton before, I dropped it down to 2 tons. If it was a 2.5, I left it at 3, but I adjusted my airflow for 2.5 because I figured it wasn't a big deal to be, whatever. So I had a couple of the guy that did the testimonial video had 2.5 ton Goodman split heat pumps previously.
Right.
And I don't remember what he said, but he said his power bill dropped like $100 immediately when we changed the first system out. And then he was like, well, after seeing that, let's do the second one. I don't care if it's, $11,000 or whatever. So we did the second one. But I dialed everything into what the airflow needed to be, and I made adjustments based on what the original discussions were for setup on the Bosch units.
Can I break in? What did the airflow need to be according to your initial thought?
For the fact that he had 2.5 ton before, we put it back at about 1,000 CFM.
Okay, so 400 CFM per ton is what you were going for at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was exactly what, not exactly. I mean, they were saying that 350 would be okay originally, right? So that house had Ecobee 3 thermostats. Mm-hmm. And the client had given me his login so that I could check in every once in a while. So randomly I would check in and just look at run times, look at temperature, how it was keeping temperature. When I get up at 4 a.m. to take a piss or whatever, I would check in on the app to see what was going on.
You get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and you check on apps for other people?
Hey,
it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. It's just funny. Just sitting there like, well, since I'm up, okay, all right.
Yeah. I mean, I check my email because I'm like, hey, you never know who's going to tell me they need a proposal.
I got the job. All
right. So I was seeing like 55, 56% humidity, but I wasn't checking frequently. And every time we went out for a maintenance after the fact, it might be a little elevated, but after we tested the system and run it, humidity was still in the 55-ish zone. But then I started noticing some of the other systems were running higher humidity. So I started checking in more frequently on them. And I was seeing on one particular house, I was seeing 65 to 70% to 75% on the worst one, humidity in the house.
Which is, I don't know, for people might be new in the chat, that is horrible. 55% is really pushing the upper limit of where you should be. That's the upper limit. But 75%, that is welcome to the jungle. That's way too high. Just for reference for people watching.
If you don't know what's a good humidity range, 75 is not.
It feels bad. It feels really bad. Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. You can drop your temperature down to 62 degrees and you're still not feeling comfortable, or you'll be extremely cold and wet.
Absolutely. Bad.
Anyway, so I have one client that never responded to my requests on asking if she had a humidity issue. We didn't replace her thermostat. We actually only replaced the condenser on her system, and it was a Lennox CBX 27, and we put a Bosch condenser on it. But I started to panic because I knew that if we were seeing humidity issues at that level, it was going to cause the potential for a horrific lawsuit before long against me as the contractor that created this Petri dish.
Right. You say Petri dish because you're talking about actual mold growth. You're talking about, organic compounds and potential health issues for people.
Yeah.
Right.
So I reached out to the supply house that had sold me the equipment, and I said, I need something here because these systems just are not maintaining. Well, it just so happens the supply house rep is the father of the girl that has the one system that was actually controlling humidity. And her house, so I had him check it. I said, go over to her house, get your hygrometer, and tell me what the humidity is in the house. He went over there and took a picture of his hygrometer. It was 44% humidity. And I was like, how is that system maintaining humidity where all the other ones, every last one of them, isn't like staying under 60 consistently? So I went over. She had declined to have service done early on, or maintenance, because it was a unique situation. Anyway,
that's the times when I go, what does that mean? But I'll skip it.
Right.
Go ahead.
But well, basically, I installed it for labor. They bought the equipment, they bought the materials, and I just provided installation labor. So there was no maintenance agreement as part of the sale. There was no extra features there. I was whoring myself out very early on.
This was a supply house guy's daughter?
Yeah.
Right. No, I understand. I did a job like that for people from the supply house before. That's understandable. Okay.
So, it gave me something to do mostly. But I get over there after, we had seen that, and I was like, I want to know what this stupid thing is doing that's actually controlling humidity. So I've only got one other 5-ton Bosch, and it was one of the houses that was one of the worst. But this Bosch particular setup was a 5-ton condenser with a 3-ton air handler. The load calc had come out to 3 tons if we installed it in the crawl space. And so we did that. We did a round metal trunk line with flex runoffs. I don't remember what the trunk line tested, but duct leakage was minimal. It was a new construction house that I did the complete duct system for. Comes out that the airflow on that system, as it was started up, like I said, it never got commissioned, was 740 CFM on a 3-ton air handler with a 5-ton condenser.
Now, how did it get started up at that level? So, did someone else start it up?
They got power on the property, and they had me come out to evacuate and drop the charge.
Right.
And then I think we were in heating at that point, and I had just not set the airflow. It was factory dip switch, and part of it was I forgot, I guess, that I had never set the airflow, but I was going to check it on its first maintenance, which they never asked for or agreed to. So, it was a multi-piece to have ended up there, but it was accidentally positive in that was the only house that didn't have indoor humidity problems. So I don't know how exactly it is supposed to work, because it doesn't seem to work like it was supposed to. But the only thing that I can sort of figure on why it doesn't do a great job is that it deals with sensible capacity before it ever gets to an operating parameter where it has any capacity to do anything about latent. So it does a bunch of sensible cooling when it's at those low ramping profiles.
Right.
And it does enough low capacity sensible to satisfy the thermostat, and it never gets to like test mode where it's running full bore, to where it will actually have some latent capacity to be used. And the only thing I can figure is with the airflow at 740 CFM on a 3-ton duct system with a 3-ton house, it ran basically nonstop. because it didn't have enough airflow to actually deliver into the space, and it was running long run cycles, though I don't have any Ecobees or any other thermostat to track it with. The only thing I can figure is it ran very low airflow for long cycles, which meant that it eventually ramped up high and actually dealt with humidity with like a 4-hour run cycle, because I proved that it will dehumidify if you get like a 4-hour run cycle on those things.
So if it runs forever, it does dehumidify.
If you could literally run it nonstop where it never actually shut off, I think it would be fine. Maybe you should just set a switch on the condenser. It won't freeze, right? So the blower can start and stop, and the condenser will just constantly run.
Yeah.
What I did to basically prove, and that was one of the things that the Bosch reps had suggested, they said jump out red, yellow, green at the thermostat, like take the thermostat off the wall and wire nut it together and let it run for 2 hours. I was like, what does that prove? That proves that it'll dehumidify. That still doesn't prove anything other than if I get it to run for 2 hours, it will dehumidify. But if it runs for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes and cycles off, it starts off at like 6,000 BTUs of capacity, and then it hits about 12,000 BTUs by the time it satisfies the thermostat, and it cycles off and starts back at the bottom. It never hits that optimum humidity or latent capacity range. I almost feel like they should start at 100% compressor and go backwards so that it runs on a long run time. It goes full capacity and starts ramping down. Obviously, that's going to pretty much absolutely murder the efficiency that they get out of them. But
man, I have like so many thoughts. I got to get my sheet of paper. Keep talking.
So, but I had installed Nexia controls because I'm a big fan of the Nexia dealer portal.
Is that the Train controls?
Train American Standard, yeah. They're both in the same family. And when I had installed one of those, let me back up just a minute. To avoid that impending lawsuit, I went back and installed dehumidifiers for every single customer that I had installed a Bosch for at no charge.
Okay. And dehumidifiers, they're not cheap, man. They don't give those things away.
No.
Now, how many is that? You said you did 8 or 9?
Yeah, I've got 9 out there. The one that actually did deal with humidity, the one that didn't ever reach out to me or confirm if she had humidity issues, so 7.
Okay. Good grief. Well, okay, let's talk about this a little bit, because I'm thinking while you're talking, we're talking about the first series. It's got one single blower speed. Did you alter the blower in any way on any of these units to stage?
No.
Okay, so it stayed one single speed on every single one of them.
Which was exactly how they told me to do it in the beginning.
Right. So,
constant airflow.
It's a high efficiency machine, meaning that the coils at 400 CFM per ton, and I'm just thinking here, and you just let me know what you think, 400 CFM per ton are going to produce higher than a lower efficiency suction pressure coming out the evaporator, because the evaporators are typically oversized.
Mm-hmm.
That higher evaporator pressure translates to higher suction temperature as far as saturation and decreased dehumidification. So if in theory, if you run at a very low RPM, you're thus making the coil even larger, so to speak, because you have a 1-ton system maybe, or a 1.5 ton system, whereas it would be a 3 because it's ramping lower. Then that evaporator gets even larger, doesn't it? Therefore, theoretically, you'd have even less dehumidification than if you had the system running at 3 tons in high efficiency mode. Does that make any sense? Because you're not altering the blower. The blower is not being changed because you don't have a smart control saying we need the blower to slow down because our suction saturation is through the roof.
Okay. Yeah. If you're running the condenser, at 1,200 BTUs, but your airflow is still 3 tons,
right,
it is going to have a higher suction. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was flipping. My brain flipped what you were saying, or you said it backwards, and I didn't quite follow.
Either
Whatever.
one of them is quite possible, and it's also possible that what I said is just wrong.
Yeah,
That happens quite a bit too. But theoretically, you have a low capacity running all the time. You should dehumidify, but you don't have a low capacity matchup. You have a large system running at a lower capacity, so that might change how it functions. And a single speed. And I guess that's why, and it's obvious because when they come out with IDS 2.0, it's no longer single speed. So they know there's a thing to correct, and they were trying to correct it.
I don't think they're going to get there with variable speed.
They haven't.
So it's not a Bosch unit, and I won't go into it, but I have a system at my office that is very similar to Bosch.
Yes,
that
I know what
works on the same premise, identical, pretty much everything other than the name on it. I dropped that system was a 3-ton condenser. I changed it to 2 tons as an attempt to address humidity because it was literally raining in my office. The windows inside were running water like streams.
Wow.
Waterfalls, fountains, Fabio standing under them.
I love the selection of the picture there. It's Fabio. Go ahead. I love it.
So I dropped the capacity from 3 tons to 2 tons. Had absolutely zero positive effect. I changed the coil target from factory to whatever the low target is. I don't even remember the numbers. 47,
37 and 47, I think. Yeah.
I changed airflow, which was originally nominal 3-ton airflow because it was the 3-ton match, right? Mm-hmm. I dropped airflow to 600 CFM on a 3-ton condenser. Absolutely zero positive effect. After going through all of that, and my wall in the office was still a waterfall or a water feature, I went out and bought an Aprilaire, just threw it in the middle of the room, put a condensate pump on it, and pumped it to the toilet. And that eliminated the fountain in my office. If I could have turned it into a nice water feature, we might have kept it. But, I'm leasing the space. I really didn't want to have a drain assembly figured out to keep it as a water feature.
Right. Right. And this is not a huge secret because you actually had a video on this thing.
Yeah.
It is the Bosch, the same. I know you can't really say that, but it is the same. It is the same.
The difference is the reversing valve energizes opposite.
Yes. Oh, I should mention that because guys might wonder, the newer guys. He said he's wire nutting Y, R, and G together at the thermostat. It's because it energizes in heating, not in cooling on the Bosch.
Yeah.
So in case you were like, that's not right.
So the dehumidifier addressed my office situation, and I was in denial for a little while before I actually got around to dealing with my clients because I wasn't monitoring it. But when I put in the dehumidifiers, I went ahead and installed Wi-Fi connected Nexias so that I could monitor performance and operation. And that was the one system that ran for 4 hours after I changed the thermostat. It literally ran for 4 hours, went from 70% humidity to 48.
Wow.
And I was like, it will do it, just not with short run cycles. So we got a tech rep from the dealership that sold me the equipment to do a site visit on a couple of units. And up to this point, I had made adjustments to the tonnage capacity as an attempt to address humidity, and I had not played with airflow in any notable way. Maybe instead of 1,000 CFM, we dropped it to 900 because honestly, I was a little bit afraid of not having enough airflow. Right. Those fears were squashed when we found the 740 CFM on the 3-ton air handler.
Wow.
But he said, nope, don't change any dip switches. Leave everything on the condenser as factory, but set your airflow 200 to 300 CFM per ton. and he said that that would address the humidity. I had that site visit with him after I had installed dehumidifiers because I knew, or I had a feeling, I was not going to get a satisfactory response, one that, you know, seemed to actually resolve the problem. And so I wanted to address the humidity before I even bothered getting a hold of Bosch, because I knew if I was going to pursue it, it was not going to be a fast turnaround. And based on the tech rep's response, I didn't even bother calling Bosch, because he's basically saying, this will do it. This is what you have to do to make these systems do their job. It's minimally helpful, but not sufficiently helpful to maintain a specific humidity range. And there is an argument to be had that the quality of the air sealing on the house can play into some of the systems being worse or better. The duct tightness could definitely play into it, but I've never installed a standard system that did not do a fantastic job controlling humidity.
Single stage, single capacity, standard
Yeah.
system. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some in the shoulder season, fall and early spring,
Right.
when you're going to cool at night or heat at night and should cool during the day. But when you don't get runtime, sure, you're not going to get it. But these Bosch units are getting runtime. It may be 30 minutes at a time every 30 minutes, but a standard system under those same circumstances, I would wager would do just fine, generally speaking. If you got a 30-minute run cycle every 30 minutes, you should be pretty good. And I'm unwilling to blame the house at that point. Maybe we could, but I'm not really willing to go that far.
I think that would be a stretch to try to justify like the machine being the problem. Like saying, oh,
Right.
maybe it's the house, you know, but you know, in your gut, you're like, I know it's not the house. We put single stage machines on piece of crap houses and they work just fine. And this, you know, we'll call it fancy, quotation fancy. But when a guy comes out and says 200 or 300 CFM per ton, that to me says you had to rig this thing up to make it work. That's what it tells me.
Yeah. Yeah.
In this climate, let me be specific. In this climate, that's what it takes.
Sure. Yeah. But then I found it interesting. On one of the Facebook groups, there was a guy in Phoenix complaining that a client was worried about humidity, because their normal humidity is like 35% in the summertime, and he was running 48% after having put the Bosch system in.
The Bosch is creating humidity now. That's kind of strange.
It's basically not dealing with humidity whatsoever. I don't know. I'm still willing to sell it. If a client comes to me and says, I want a Bosch, they will get a quote for a Bosch that includes a 120 pint ultra air dehumidifier.
You know, what else do you still sell? Because I know you sold Heil too before you got started. Do you still sell Heil? Do you have a second brand you're selling?
Yeah. At the moment, Heil is my budget line.
Man, Heil's fancy. What are you talking about? Oh, okay. All right. They're not all fancy. All right.
There are some nicer pieces of the Heil line. And honestly, I'm not particularly happy with Heil or excited about Heil. I could do Arco Air, I could do Tempstar, but Ari Michael sells Heil. I've been working with them for 15 years or more. I will buy my material from them until the guys that work there that actually treat me properly die or retire. But we did just recently have a discussion with a dealer for Rude, which may be a secondary line.
Okay, that's good stuff.
Down the road.
I like it.
He came back with he set up the account and put together my initial pricing offers, and it's attractive.
Yeah, I was surprised how affordable is Ream that I looked at, but how affordable Ream was. I always thought it was like up there like when it got quoted Train or American Standard or something.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty good, and I put in several of them, and I always thought they were really good units, very minimal issues.
There was one particular matchup that between Train and Rude, the Rude was a full sear point higher for the same tonnage and $1,000 different.
Yeah, I totally believe that. Yeah.
And then the higher end or higher tonnage was not as far off. But the 2-ton Train XV 20 is actually a 19 seer matchup, and the 2-ton Rude 20 is actually a 20 matchup.
Yeah, and that's pretty common too to have them. So this is a 20 seer. It's nominal. I've seen something like 2 or 2.5 seer points lower than what they say they are. It's kind of disappointing.
But when you hit 5-ton, you get like 17 seer out of the 20.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about too. It's significantly lower. And well, once you set it for you realize, oh, okay, so it's like a nominal across the whole bunch. But it'll surprise you the first time. So why not sell ICP 5-stage instead of Bosch? Is it the price of those things? Because they are significantly more expensive.
When I first got excited about the Bosch, my initial thought process was, I love my XV. I've got a XV20 hybrid, dual fuel for those, 3-ton system on my house. And I've absolutely love that thing. But the price point on it is 2 arms and a head away from Bosch. So with the original hype, I was like, if I get what I get from my XV20 at the Bosch price point, I would be a fool not to sell this stuff, because I love the XV20, and this Bosch is supposed to be all the same features at quite literally less than half of the price. So I felt like it was a no-brainer. At this point, I probably should sell the 5-stage ICP as an alternative.
It probably would deal with humidity better, I would think, based on other people's experience. I would think, in similar climates. I'd hate to have more heartbreak over Bosch.
Yeah,
I feel like I should. I'll get it ready while you're talking. Go ahead. No, never mind. You go on to the drink. I was going to get my Bosch app out, see where we're at right now.
Yeah, we haven't got to yours yet. You sent me a pretty grotesque selfie of you climbing into the attic.
I'm switching back to the other screen for just a second so you guys can see me. It wasn't that bad. Here it is. It's 72 degrees at 68% humidity. So there we are right now. And that's and I'll tell you what I've done to it, and then we'll get back to the discussion. Okay, whenever I set up the Bosch, and we'll clear this out right away. Whenever you look at the manual, there was nothing about lowering the CFM to 200 per ton. There's nothing like that in the manual. When you put them in, because I read through the manual, because I'm like, you two people aren't going to bust my chops. I'm going to be ready. So I read the manual completely, which I do every time.
RTFM.
RTFM, man. RTFM. So I read the manual 7 times or whatever. And I put the machine in, and I set it up, and it was under 1,150 CFM for 3 tons. Little did I know that was like 700 too many CFM. I didn't know at the time. So I put it in. It's like, this thing is not dehumidifying at all. So now it's 2nd stage, because it's 2-stage now as far as the blower. So I guess that's their way of saying, well, we need to have a low stage run time and then ramp up and then have this whole process be longer. We need to dehumidify better. That's what I hear when they did that, and based on conversations with you beforehand. So it ran for a while. It's like, this is not cutting it. So I kind of tinkered with the blower speeds until I finally got to blower speed 1, because it's X13 motor. Blower speed 1 and 3. The reason why I chose 1 and 3 instead of 1 and 2 is because it's 3-ton with 10 kW, and at 2, it doesn't meet the airflow standard for a 10 kW heat strip. So I have to keep it at 3 unless I'm going to add my own controls, which I've really considered to change the speeds from cooling to heating. So it's higher in heating. So I put it at 1 and 3, the lowest I could possibly go. And that's the number we just saw, 68%. That's on 1 and 3. What I heard is the same thing you heard, because we have a mutual friend that knows a lot about these things too. And he talked about this with me as well. And there's literally nothing I can do beyond, because I put the duct system in, and it functioned at a 0.3 static at 1150 CFM. So you can imagine what it's functioning at now. It's extremely low. Either I add static. If I add static and decrease, and you can comment on this too, because you had to do this with a lot of duct systems, you experienced a lot of duct systems. If you add static or decrease airflow, then your duct system, which is sized for 3 tons, 4 tons, 5 tons, all of a sudden is cavernous. It's so much larger than is necessary, and you've jeopardized the velocities on the outlining of the duct system, which is why I had to manhandle 3 dampers. And I'm going to actually zone the system here when I actually go back up there. When it gets cool, I'm going back up there, let's be honest. And I'm going to zone it because on the outlying parts of the system, at whatever CFM I'm at, and I'm higher than what yours was. Mine's probably like 800 or 900 because that's as low as I could go. You have very poor velocity. So I had to turn down the center of the house to push air to the outside. So when you're doing a system like this and you don't know this stuff going into it and you can't zone, it's like a long single trunk, like you're talking about, a round trunk with flex runs. That last flex run, you're kind of screwed on. Unless you go through and you're trying to damper every single thing down because it's no longer built for the CFM you're pushing. And that's what kind of ticks me off, because there's zero indication in their literature that is going to be an issue. So, and to me, it ticks me off a little bit, because it's like, we hope you're fine. We're not going to say if there's a problem. Good luck to you. That's what I feel like. That's what I feel like happened. I know I can get up there and I can add 50 relays to something and make it work. But that's like saying I should have a communicating control and it should be a communicating system. But we didn't want to do that, Bosch. We wanted to put a single-stage thermostat up there, or a 2-stage thermostat, and I think that's what happened. It doesn't have the data to do its job, is what I think. I think it can. I just think it doesn't have the input or the brain power to do it right now.
What if we put in 5 time delay relays in series on the blower motor, so that we get like 25 minutes of off cycle when the condenser comes on, so that the condenser can spool up while the blower's off. And then after 25 minutes of call, it won't have satisfied anything, and it'll finally bring on the blower at about 300 CFM and sort of burp air out the registers.
Too tricky.
That is 40 degrees saturation.
This is a sort of out-of-the-box thinking that I was contemplating during this thing. I thought about, just during the cooling cycle, I'm going to pull stage 2 out of the thermostat so it never gets a signal and stay in that first blower speed and test it. But I thought to myself, if it works perfectly, it's BS anyway, because I can't use that speed. So I can get get a dehumidifier. That's what Brent said. I got a dehumidifier that's broken. You can fix it, Zach. You'll be able to fix it. It's like,
yeah.
No.
I've got a broken 95 Piner if you want to.
Everybody's got a broken dehumidifier.
So one thing that I started to shoot a video with at my office was an attempt to I don't even know how to describe it, but we were trying to minimize how much air actually travels across the evaporator. Okay. And as you know, you can only go so low on your blower tap, right? So you're on speed tap 1, which is like 800 CFM.
Yeah, because there's no static on it. I mean, it's like nothing.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works. So what we did at my office, because I was pretty much over it, and I was like, I don't care if I, void a warranty or have to fix something. I chopped an 8-inch hole in the back of the air handler, right behind the blower, and I put in a 8-inch bypass from the blower compartment back to the return plenum, and I put a 8-inch XCI or EcoJ zone damper in that bypass for potential future power use, but for easy manual, incremental adjustment. So my system was already running 600 CFM, and we were trying to figure out how in the heck to get it to run the less CFM actually over the coil. At this point, I think my air handler is running about 250 to 300 CFM across the coil.
Holy crap.
Because we bypassed the coil from the return plenum to the blower compartment in an attempt to force that coil to ramp up to higher capacities and extend runtime. My office, I thought, was a perfect spot for a, adjustable capacity, variable capacity type thought process. But realistically, if I put in a 6,000 BTU mini split in that office space, it would be plenty. So I don't need the tonnage. And so 300 CFM really isn't that bad to actually work in the space. But we were just trying anything to see if we could make these things work the way we need them to in North Carolina. And I had a little bit of initial satisfaction with that hack job. But at that moment, I had a little time to think about it and deal with it. And then things hit the fan, and I haven't been back to it. And the weather's changing, so it doesn't really matter now.
Right.
But yeah, I think we were supposed to talk about something else, weren't we? Eventually.
Well, yeah, there are other options. I don't think we're actually going to get to the other thing because the Bosch, inundated the conversation as Bosch does.
Well, I think it's a little bit of a sore spot, similar to my other fandom problem that developed with a certain man with the initials JB and his business relationships.
Jazzy Bluebell. Oh yeah, no. That's we. Did we discuss that one with the?
I guess I need to quit being a fanboy.
No, I mean the products were good. I mean the idea I think is really cool. It's just the execution is not there yet. Not on the Bosch. As far as the iConnect and stuff, the execution was, oh man, that thing was great. I loved it. I still think it's fantastic. It's just, it kind of fell apart. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, we don't have to go there, but I guess I brought it up a little.
Well, that's I think people we've got that opinion out there already, and
Yeah, there's no secrets there.
No. I mean, just try to find an iConnect. It's hard to do nowadays.
I got 3 of them still.
That's because you took them all. Steven's got them all. That's where they went. I mean, but as far as talk out there, you don't hear much about them anymore.
Yeah.
I know we had a couple other things down there. I don't know if we're gonna have time for this. Let's do a little wrap up. Let's just talk about the business again. Looking back, 3 years have gone by. When you first started out, you've kind of adjusted. It looks like you've kind of adjusted your marketing and the fact that you've adjusted your name of the business. So is that something that you realize along the way you want to change focus, or why did that come about?
So I knew that a white van with a couple of magnets on it was not my final destination. It was a means to an end so that I didn't look like a complete, free candy van. But it was more of a cover story for when I could afford to do something different. And I had no intention of changing names at that point, but I knew that was not the final look. So I started to delve into branding around the original name, and was reaching out to people on Facebook that have, solid opinions and perspectives. And I had this design built, and I think I had posted it on Facebook at one point asking for people's feedback, and it was generally positive, but I had one particular gentleman, I think it's Todd Lyles, and I think he's out of Texas. He said, do not run that design. Call this guy. And it was Dan Antonelli with KickCharge Creative. They've branded all the big names that anybody's ever seen. Gettle, Las Vegas Air Conditioning was branded by KickCharge. There's, you name it. Have you seen Comfort Monster over your way?
I have not seen them. I'm familiar with Gettle, but not with them.
Yeah. There's a lot of brands that are nationally recognized, not that Comfort Monster is, but nationally recognized brands that have been branded by this company. So I reached out to them and, just fielding potential costs and clarification of the idea. And he's like, yeah, that's a horrible brand. Read this article that I wrote. That'll just be confusing to people. Said the name's not good and the branding's horrible. I was like, oh, wait a minute, make me feel special.
But that's good, though. Sometimes you need the jarring, honest approach, because people will kind of be like, well, it's good, but, it's
Right.
not helpful when they
Don't
do that.
stroke my ego early on. That helps.
Yeah.
So through that, basically being told that my brand was crap and I needed to come up with something else, I started discussing it with clients that seemed to be, reasonable people. You don't just ask every client that you don't know, but I had relationships with several clients that had developed and they were, interested in the company's growth and development, vested interests in having a half decent technician visit their system that was not just trying to sell them an ultraviolet R-Wave or whatever, or a Remy Halo.
Oh, yeah.
So had one client in particular that came back with what ended up being Smart Home Comfort. It was longer and incorporated a lot of extra words, but it shortened down to Smart Home Comfort in the end. And KickCharge liked the idea, and then they worked up a couple of concepts. We were either going to be Dilbert or Gandalf, or what we are actually branded as. And through a little bit of back and forth, we picked the current Where's Waldo mascot, and it's been pretty good, I think.
Man, Gandalf would have been awesome.
I thought it would have been cool, but they weren't willing to put a beard on Waldo. I'm really glad that we actually got to where we are, because originally they were going to run a whirligig on top of the hat as the wrench rather than on the hat.
I got to bring this picture back up so we can follow along here. Okay.
So I wasn't thrilled with the whirligig look, and I should have sent you a picture of that just so you had a concept of what it was. But
that would have been cool, yeah.
This logo, what I really wanted to do was my iconic refrigerant gauges hat. I wanted to sort of go into that feel or look that hat gave. And so that's when they decided to go ahead and let me have them put the wrench on the ball cap instead of as a whirligig on top.
Whirligig is so vague. I have a hard time imagining it. I could really use that picture.
It was pretty bad.
I think it looks good. I think what you did looks good. I put it up on there so everybody could kind of follow along. It's a good looking logo, and it's kind of neat. So this is something like someone in your position, like a small company, can get someone like this branding company, and it's doable financially to do this.
Yeah. I think I took out a third mortgage on the property.
I don't know if that goes along with our doable.
Right. Yeah.
Just a couple weeks of selling stuff on the street, and I was ready, man. I could get it. Yeah.
Right.
It was
no,
great.
it was. I think it was. I don't need to be specific, but it was between a lot and a really lot. Over 15K.
15K. Man.
And then I had to wrap the trucks, so it was a lot over 15K.
But it paid off. You're talking like it paid off well. You're happy with it.
I'm very happy with it. Client feedback has been phenomenal. I feel obviously more professional than a white truck with magnets on it. We've got the shirts. We've got hats that I'm not wearing. We even got face masks with the logo on it. So
nice. I
feel like a legitimate organization rather than a two-man shop.
Yeah, the abandoning of magnets will do that to you. You'll feel a whole lot more legitimate. Now, I put it in there if anyone had any questions. You did answer one of them, and I want to read it out loud anyway, just so everybody can hear it and after the video, people who don't watch the chat. Steve asked, was Steven running 300 CFM total or CF 300 per ton? And on that particular system at your office, you were running around 300 total. It was a little bit less than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But per ton, we had talked about going through some of the quotes that we made during this process. It was 200 to 300 CFM because you talk about 600 CFM on one of the three-ton condensers, then like 700 and something on that one 3-ton match with the 5-ton, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 250, 200, 300, all much lower than you would expect, guys. And we had another question. Do you work in Durham? Luke wants a job. Do you do work in Durham? Do you go all the way to Durham?
Just up there today.
Were you? Okay. Because we just drove back from there, and you really get... How far do you go down the I-40 corridor either way?
We went to Pilot Mountain for a project out there.
Oh, crap. Where Pilot Mountain? Now I got to get out my phone.
That's north of Winston-Salem by about
far away.
30 minutes.
Far away, then. Okay.
That was a very specific set of plans, custom house, turned into an amazing project. It was a 4,000 square foot house with a 2-ton heat pump running 0.1 static.
Very cool.
But it also has a 120 pint or 120 pint dehumidifier and an ERV. It's zoned. It's tight.
Wow.
The blower door test on that was lower. I think the blower door test was lower than my duct leakage test.
Oh, wow. Pretty cool.
And my duct leakage was 65 CFM.
What kind of equipment was that?
That was an EcoAir.
Oh, all right. Okay, I got you. All right. EcoAir, right?
Whatever you want to
all
call it.
All one word? I'm trying to remember this machine. I call it a cell phone Bosch. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is actually a really cool feature. And if they worked like we want them to and strapped on that phone, you don't need a set of gauges for that unit. You can literally go to your phone and look at every pressure, every amperage, every ERV or EEV, stepper motor, every last piece of that system except for air handler, because it's a TXV with an X13 motor. You can see it through a free cell signal data stream. It's phenomenal.
I remember reading about the EcoAir units when they came out a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, because I always match it with the other one I read about at the same time, which was the Smart Frog. Do you remember that one? It was the heat pump / generator that would come on whenever the power was lost, and a generator would come on. That's right. I hear nothing about them anymore. I don't know why. Well,
that's like a chainsaw spoon combo,
which is in the works. Bosch is working on that. A chainsaw spoon combo. Steven, we got to wrap it up, man. We've been rolling for a long time.
Well, I was about 30 minutes late, so
you're about, hey, like I said, I was never going to mention that it was you who were the cause. I tried to make some computer talk.
That's okay.
I'm ignorant, though, so that didn't work. We have another question that just popped in, actually. Let's answer that real quick.
What do we got?
Blake Peary asked, do you use any software to run your business, or what is your fave?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When I first started, I was trying to use Square Register to manage price listing, processing payments, and all that stuff. I quickly realized that I was not going to work for a mobile situation. It might work well at a, flea market or whatever, but not HVAC. So actually called Greg Fox, who blows my mind that in just a couple years more than me, he's just moved into like a 15,000 square foot warehouse. And that man is a hero of mine.
Go back 3 weeks.
But I was talking to him.
We interviewed Greg. So just so you guys know, you can see that 3 weeks ago. Just look back.
So I called him and I said, hey, what are you using? What have you looked at? And he said, we've been really happy with House Call Pro. As far as money for features, it's very affordable and it can be expanded to, grow with the company. So I signed on with them. I've got an affiliate link that gives you discounts or free months or whatever, but since I'm not making videos, it doesn't really end up doing anything for me.
Hey, Steven, since we're also sponsored by Hey, know what? Hey, I'm gonna break in and tell a funny story here because we just hooked up with them for the past month, and I was talking to him and it was like, we mentioned you because I said, well, the only person I really know has a whole lot of experience is Steven. He said, yeah, all of a sudden Steven started getting some referrals. I was like, yeah, you finally made another video. That's what happened. So evidently you got some referrals after that video, so congratulations.
Yeah, I see a bunch of guys on Facebook that look like they're probably, influenced by my whatever. So I'm using House Call Pro. I can't be happier. It's funny though, because there's a lot of people that say, I'm not paying credit card fees at whatever percentage. I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that. The convenience of processing a payment in the same app that you use to schedule and inform the customer and text the customer and, keep track of all the service history, the convenience of that type of software far outweighs whatever increase in what you pay in credit card costs. And if it's killing your business, your price is not right. You have to roll that cost into your pricing and you'll be fine. You cannot sell $5,600 3-ton heat pump changeouts and grow your business.
That's the bad news. That you have to learn once you're kind of mixed up in it. If you have the wherewithal, you'll try to learn it in advance, but a lot of times that's not how it happens. Ain't how it happened for me. You got to learn it once you realize, hey, this is not.
That was one thing I wanted to touch on in regards to the business. Was the fact that when I started, I honestly thought, like a lot of people think, that if I'm a good technician and not a total hack job, I am sometimes, aren't we all?
Oh, yeah.
That was all it took to have a successful business. And I quickly realized, along with the fact that I can't run a business out of a Jeep Wrangler, that I need to know more than just what it takes to fix an air conditioner. 2 books that have impacted me in a huge way were Profit First, which is basically Dave Ramsey for business finances. I think it's Mike Michalowicz. And then the E-Myth, which I'm waiting for the latest one with the guy that started Gettle, Ken Goodrich, to hit Audible. But the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, I think, was the original author. Basically talking about the fact that there's 3 ways or 3 types of people in a business. There's a technician, there's a manager, and there's an entrepreneur. And most small businesses start because the technician thinks they can do the job and they can do better at business. And that's where I started. And I'm having to backtrack pretty hardcore to develop business processes, because just because I'm a decent tech doesn't mean that I can maintain a profitable business or grow a legacy or, anything that will last longer than my lifespan.
I think that's natural, though. I think that's a natural process when you start a business. It is somewhat of an illusion to go in knowing everything about it. I think a lot of people go in just like yourself or myself in the case, and you get in there, it's like, oh, this isn't, if I install this perfectly, dial the charge in, the HVAC gods will grant me unlimited jobs, and they will all be multi-stage systems, and I will have a boat, and life will be awesome. And just to note real quick, it is Michael E. Gerber, the E-Myth, and on Audible. So you can get that on Audible.
Yeah.
Hey.
Fantastic.
I try to help.
Or listen.
That's my job. Well, Steven, feel the transition coming. It's all over, man. It's done. I think the question that popped up in the chat, how do you like it? You answered that. Steve asked, did you press your neighbor's water heater in? I'm going to answer that for you. He did not.
No.
Okay.
I do have a leak that I'm going to go fix because apparently I got a crimp ring
right
on the
now?
pipes.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah.
Well, Steven, by God, get out of here and go fix your leak. I had like a House Call Pro thing that I was going to play right now, but I'm not going to play that. I'm going to play something else. I actually changed it before the show started. And since you already talked about House Call Pro, we already hit that anyway. We're going to have a little Refrigeration Technologies drop test with their new bag coil cleaners. I threw some up against a wall. Stay tuned to see what happens. It's a predictable thing, but I want to thank you for coming by. You will be back again because there's some stuff on the list here we didn't talk about, and just more stuff will develop as time goes by, as it does. And I just want to thank you, and I appreciate you coming by.
Do you have a couple of mics in your studio? Because I might just show up one Friday night and crash your interview.
Not to be vulgar, but does a bear shit in the woods, Steven? I have more mics in here than you can shake a stick at. Dude, if you come by here, I have a mic. I'm sitting at a table looking toward another side of a table, and there's a mic on that side. There's headphones over there. I have another camera just like this one that can point at you. Man, I'm ready.
Do you have, like, COVID glass?
I don't care nothing about that. I mean, you come down here. I mean, you can wear a mask if you want. I can't breathe in that thing in here. I'm not going to die doing a live stream. But I'm assuming that you would not come by if you were coughing, hacking, and COVID-ridden.
No.
So, yeah, come on.
All right. I almost did it tonight. I was like,
that would be hilarious.
Would be fun. Just be like, hey, Zach, it's 7:30. You ready to do this?
Yeah.
But then I showed up at 8:30.
Well, he forgot the show existed tonight, so we ain't going to worry about that. But next time, hey, in person is fine with me. You know, if you don't care, I don't care because, you know, I don't have to do much. I just got to come into this room. You're the one who has to drive down here. So,
right.
But
no, it should be fun.
Yeah, it will.
Maybe we can do something else too. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're going to eat is what we're going to do. If you come down here, it's like we had Nick and Monica come down here from Charlotte. They sat in here and we went and ate. We went to the Mexican restaurant afterwards. We don't come down here and podcast or anything without eating. So don't worry about that.
Maybe we can have some hamburglers.
Hey, what are you trying to do here? We got a reputation. You know what? You're putting magnets on this podcast right now. That's what you're doing. I'm gonna get out of here before you get controversial. But thanks, Steven. Most people don't even know what to talk about anymore.
Glad that's old news.
I'm glad it's old news too. I'm gonna make you disappear, Steven. I really appreciate it. And we're gonna go to the next thing. I'm gonna go ahead and transition screens here. And Steven, I'm gonna go up here to this button that makes you disappear, and you can go do your water heater thing, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Take care, Steven. Bye. All right. So, Steven's gone to fix his water heater, which was awesome. He did a great job. Yeah, anyone who comes down here to podcast or shoot a video or something, we're going to be eating, whether I grill out or we can go to Camino Real and have Mexican food anytime. That's always fine. Any day of the week. I love it. I love it to death. All right, so I'm going to play this video right here. We're going to come back on the flip side for a few more minutes and talk. I won't make it very long because we had a good discussion tonight. We talked a lot about Bosch, talked about Steven's business, and he'll be back again because as he goes through these years of business, especially the first years, there's going to be a lot of rapid learning. Like he said, he's turning on to the business mindset, and as he gets a hold of that, there's going to be more and more knowledge he's going to be able to share with us. So he'll be back. I'm going to show you a video of a Refrigeration Technologies drop test in which I take their coil bags and we just test them out because coil bags, you think they're going to break really easy. So that's one of the things you go, I don't want to buy these because of this. So I decided to take one of the plastic containers versus one of the coil bags. And let's see what happened, guys. I'll be back after the flip side here. This is a Refrigeration Technologies ad done the Zach way. Guys, before I start my little experiment here, I'm actually going to take this Viper coil cleaner because we're going to be doing a little bit of a torture test. We'll be chucking up against walls and stuff like that. So I'm going to take this coil cleaner, pour it into this very nice Coke-like product, empty container. We're going to pour it in there just so the internet doesn't think I'm spilling coil cleaner everywhere, and I don't want you to get on your keyboards and type that dogs are dying or something like that, because they're not. Guys, I thought I'd take a break real quick and let you know that just because dogs aren't dying because of coil cleaner, dogs are still able to die. That if you have a dog out there, just because you keep him away from coil cleaner doesn't mean that he'll live forever. I just wanted to clear that up because in our new PC culture that we all share now, I feel the need to go ahead and take a break and just let you guys know that. All right, let's get back to this coil cleaner thing, and forget about the dogs. Don't worry about your dog dying. It'll be all right. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it in here. I'm gonna do it on camera so you guys can believe me, and then we can get the test underway. So there's no seal on the inside of this bottle either. It's just open once you open up this cap. That was one of the questions that I had. Was there going to be a seal that I would puncture? My wife brought it up. So will that compromise this test in any way? I was like, no, honey. I'm sure there'll be like 20 other things that compromise this test, and that is not one of them. All right. So I'm going to pour it in here. I'll do this a little bit better way. Well, maybe it ain't going to be so bad. All right. My bag's going to be all fluffy. All right. So what we can do here is I can get another 2 liter and fill it up with water to the same point, and we can put water back into this thing. So as you see, I have about halfway full there, if you guys can see that. Halfway full right there between the Sam's and the cola. So if I get that amount of water, I can put it into the bag. So let's go ahead and see if we can't grab that amount of water, put it into the bag just so it's filled in the exact same way, because if the bag is too full, it'd be more prone to bust, I would think. Especially if you have some sort of puncturing component like a screw or nail or something. So we're going to fill it back up, and I'll show you guys on camera too, just for transparency. Don't write me any letters. I don't read them anyway. All right, I have my Dr. Thunder bottle next to my Sam's Cola bottle, and I want to zoom in and show you guys that we are about the same level here. Let's see if I can't zoom in. Now you can see the Sam's Cola shaking right there. It's hard to see the other one. Yeah, you can see that one too. So we're right around the same level. Water in this one, coil cleaner in this one. So we're going to get down to business now, fill this other coil cleaning bag back up, and see if we can't totally destroy it or see how good it is. All right, so we have this great device that I made. This is painter's tape. So I hope you guys, this is probably the best tape I can possibly use, guys. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. Oh my gosh, I can't be there, right? All right, so we're gonna fill this thing up with the water from our, hopefully this doesn't bust my painter's tape, but let me be ready. Here's some turkeys in the background over there. So here we are down at my shed, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of drop testing and some real life type situations. So to make it completely on the level, I have our Refrigeration Technology stuff right here. We got our baggie, which is filled with water. And I also filled a regular coil cleaning container with water so that we're making sure everything's on the up and up. Guys, we want to make sure the test is perfectly done and mimicking real world conditions. So we're going to head over to my not yet in operation Mitsubishi mini split and knock some coil cleaner off the top of it to see if it busts or stays together. All right, so I'm sitting here with the Mitsubishi mini split. I have my plastic bottle coil container, and I have our baggy style. These are both actually Refrigeration Technologies. They've just been filled with water so we don't spill coil cleaner everywhere. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a mimicking gesture, knock it off onto my wooden floor here, which you can see on the other camera. And as you can see, that is basically some hard surface. It's not grass, so it's a little bit tougher than if you just knock it over onto grass. So let's go ahead and simulate what's gonna happen. All right, I'm reaching for my tools and I'm turning. Let's see what happened. Nothing happened, nothing's damaged, nothing's spilt. We're all good. So we're gonna switch places. I'm gonna reach for that same tool again and nothing bad there either. So we're gonna have to do something a little bit more vigorous. Let's go to some drop testing. All right, I have our Viper baggie and I'm gonna drop it straight down onto the same wooden platform and we're gonna see how it does. It survived, no leaks as you can see. I'm grabbing it. So let's check out the plastic bottle, see how it does. So we have our plastic bottle. I'm gonna hold it straight out. We're gonna drop it straight down and we'll see what happens. It looks like we have a little dent in it, but besides that, nothing. What are we gonna do now? We're gonna have to step it up a notch and let's do the bottle fling. All right, we have a lovely tree here behind me, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to fling these bottles at this tree from about where this camera's sitting. It's about 10 or 12 feet away just to make sure that I hit them. I mean, it's been a long time since I played ball. I ought to be able to hit it though, I would think. It'd be kind of embarrassing otherwise. So I'm gonna kind of aim right here. See if we can't smack one of those bottles against there and get it to blast. This is gonna be above and beyond the normal wear and tear. So let's find out if they hold together. So I have my two bottles here. The tree's on the other side. We have a camera set up to catch this. I'm gonna see if I can't make a couple pitches while holding the Zoom recorder in my pocket and see how this works. And not knock down my camera, which I've set up here. All right, so here we go first. We have the plastic bottle, and let's see if we can't do this. Nothing. Look at that. It's on the ground over there. Nothing. I'll show it to you in just a second. Here we have our baggie. Our baggie got busted a little bit, and our cap is leaking a little bit on the plastic bottle. So we both had ruptures on both ones. So now that they're both busted, let's step it up a notch and just finish the job. All right, we're gonna pitch it in there.
Hole in one.
Oh, well, we got it that time. All right.
Try again.
Oh man, little low. All right, we're gonna give the old overhand.
Nice shot.
Yep, that did it. Absolutely. I don't know if I got that on camera because it's a little low, but we might have. We might have got it. We'll see. All right, guys, our experiment's over. We busted them up. Let's take a look at the bottles. Yep. Make sure your van is safer than this. Next time, I'm about to try some puncture tests because you would think the bag might be more puncture prone than the jug here, but this is more of like a drop test on steroids. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. It's been a fun show tonight. Just a little bit of testing out the Refrigeration Technologies products. They both kind of tied, so to speak. So maybe we'll test out trying to poke them with stuff or shoot them with a bow and arrow because we do have that technology at my house. Maybe a little bit of BB gun. I don't know. I don't know how many of these things I can bust before Refrigeration Technology said, we're not going to send you any more of these. So that's basically what we're waiting for here, just to be restrained by the sponsors. But there you go. Hope you had fun. Thank you to Steven for coming by. I hope your water heater fixing goes wonderful tonight. I want to show you guys a few things right before we get out of here. If you want to sign up for our live notifications. You can go down in the description. Here is an example of that. You just fill out this little thing right here, and I will text you before the show. I will admit I forgot this time because it was a little bit hectic and whatever excuse I could put in there, but before the show, I will text you anything you need to get linked up. We had the same thing for the Skilled Trade Up. That comes on every Wednesday night. You can win some prizes, win some tools. We have a lot of great stuff that's coming next week. There's some stuff coming from Midwest, hopefully some of their snips, and I know a few more new things will be in the Skilled Trade Up this week, hopefully, as long as they come on time. So if you want to support us, because we don't have channel memberships and all that jazz, we don't have monetization because our channel is too small for that, you can do that at Subscribestar. A lot of you are familiar with that. A lot of you have supported me in the past, and you can do that by going into the description of this video as well. And last but not least, if you listen to podcasts, you can listen to a lot of these shows that we stream live on this channel as podcast, and there's a few different ones besides that as well. You just go over to any podcast app. This is the iTunes one. Look up HVAC Shop Talk, and you can listen. It's a lot of fun when you're driving down the road, going to your service calls or wherever you might be going. Maybe you're taking your family somewhere and you want the kids to be quiet. Tell them to, shut up and sit down. Listen to HVAC Shop Talk. We don't cuss much, so that should be good. All right. Time for me to get out of here, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming by. I know it's been a long show, so I won't drag this out any longer, but I appreciate you tuning in. If you give the video a like, if you enjoyed it, that would be awesome. I'd really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that as well. My name is Zach Ciota. I'm the host of this show and the HVAC Shop Talk podcast and the Skilled Trade Up because I just love doing lots of different stuff. I want to thank you for coming by, and I will see you on the next one.